I am not going to be bullied by the state attorney general.
A few moments later.
You're here this afternoon because I signed the ICE agreement. Yes, I signed the damn thing because we really had to. We were put in a tough spot.
So today we got to bring you the rather hilarious story of what we call a certified Florida classic. And that is essentially a moment where a Democrat mayor tries to stand up and act like a tough guy by defying state and federal law when it comes to immigration enforcement and deportations. In other words, they attempt to declare themselves a sanctuary city. Except the problem specifically in Florida that these people repeatedly run into, this is far from the first locality that has attempted this, is that being a sanctuary city is explicitly illegal under Florida state law. And so you have here yet another case where literally today, within the span of hours, a mayor has immediately backed off and is saying that he will indeed sign the agreement with ICE, apologizing to the Florida state government because I guess you could say he tried to F around and in the end, he ultimately found out. And specifically here, we are talking about the mayor of Orlando, Florida, which is a very blue part of Florida, but also, if you know anything about it, having a huge problem with illegal immigrant gangs, specifically Tren de Aragua. And so the whole case here is highly ironic. This is yet another example of a Democrat trying to defend the absolute worst people currently living in our society, except as it turns out, that might fly for Karen Bass, that might fly in California. In this case, obviously, it is illegal. So we'll get into it. First, though, folks, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Subscribing, guys, is not only the best way to support our videos, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all of the latest news and coverage. We're almost at 500K. Help us get there. Smash that red button. And with that said, so let us start on July 30th, 2025. Yes, indeed, it was that recent, where you had Orlando Mayor Jerry Demings refusing to sign a cooperation agreement with ICE, but it went a little bit further. He went so far as to state that, quote, I am not going to be bullied by the state attorney general into signing this agreement. So he's acting very tough. He's basically saying, look, I'm willing to sacrifice anything. They're not going to stop me. Orlando, no matter what, will be a sanctuary city. So take a listen to this news story from like 1 to 2 days ago, and then we'll show you what's happened since, because newsflash, that did not last very long.
I am not going to be bullied by the state attorney general.
It was a war of words Wednesday between Orange County's mayor.
I spent more years on the streets of Florida patrolling our streets as a law enforcement officer than he's been alive.
And Florida's attorney general.
I know the mayor said some, disparaging things about me. That's all fine and good. My response is, look at the law. The law is what it is. We got a duty to enforce it.
The state's AG James Uthmeier says he's hopeful Mayor Jerry Demings will reverse course and sign an addendum to the county jail's 287G agreement with ICE.
If there are some, prohibitive resource constraints, and those would need to be laid out. But it seemed like the county just decided they weren't going to do this. There wasn't a whole lot of explanation or justification.
Demings isn't backing down after Uthmeier put him and the rest of the commissioners on notice that the governor could remove them from office.
It has been said in many ways that unjust laws are no laws at all.
Demings says it shouldn't be the responsibility of county correctional officers to transport inmates with immigration holds to other facilities, such as Alligator Alcatraz in the Everglades.
When the federal government asks us to take and pull our resources out of the jail to go handle a federal responsibility to transport them to other locations, indirectly what they're doing and directly what they're doing is making our community unsafe, making our jail unsafe.
At a roundtable in Tampa Wednesday morning.
So we have a track record of doing what needs to be done to ensure compliance.
Governor Ron DeSantis reminded Floridians he's used his power before to suspend elected officials for neglect of duty.
We've made it very clear. This is not a policy debate at this point. The policy debate was at the beginning of the year when I called the special session. Our law in Florida is that you have to do your best maximum efforts to assist with immigration enforcement.
The mayor says efforts by the governor and AG to label Orange County a sanctuary county are politically motivated.
The threat of removing us from office for doing our jobs and doing what we were supposed to do, it is misplaced. It's misguided at best.
Right. So there you had earlier this week, you basically understand the Chronicle. You have Mr. Tough Guy Mayor. He's doing all the grandstanding. He's saying, I'm not afraid of you. We're not going to back down. He's even admitting he's defying the law, by the way, saying unjust laws are no laws at all. Okay, so thank you for admitting, Mayor, that you're breaking the law. I mean, I'm not sure that's really the best argument there. But even when you had the Florida state government, that being Attorney General James Uthmeier, as well as Ron DeSantis, saying, look, you could face removal from office or suspension because you're violating state law openly. You're admitting to it yourself, by the way. It's not really a secret. Even in that moment, he was being Mr. Tough Guy. I'm not sure what has happened since, but I'll show you what the AG of Florida said. He noted here, writing an entire letter to the local mayorship and local city government of Florida that goes on here. You know, it's pretty long, but we'll just shorten it by reading the headline here, saying that Florida state law forbids sanctuary policies and requires locals to use their, quote, best efforts to assist with immigration enforcement. This is why I so often say that Florida, as all Republican states should be, is not just a non-sanctuary state. It's not just like, oh, we won't be a sanctuary state. No, it's an anti-sanctuary state. Basically, what we mean by that is you don't just not have interference by local law enforcement, you have open cooperation. They actually have to openly help. And I mean, obviously, if you want mass deportations, obviously the people voted for this, that should be the case, right? ICE shouldn't have to do this alone. They should actually get help because guess what? The states and the federal government both have a vested interest in removing what are very often safety threats from our community. So this is, of course, true. But he goes on here to state that the Orange County Commission must adopt the ICE addendum and allow corrections officers to transport illegal aliens to approved detention facilities because, again, the state also has a vested interest in it. So with all of that in mind, guys, I would like to ask the question, how long do you think this lasted from the Orlando mayor, the Mr. Tough Guy Act? Because he was being extremely adamant and defiant. He was saying, I'm not going to be bullied. They're threatening to remove me from office. I don't care. I'm going to go down fighting, whatever it is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just hours ago, I know everyone's so shocked to find this out, but we got the news from the Orlando mayor that he has indeed capitulated. He states now that he will be indeed signing the agreement. And this all essentially came because he was admitting, okay, I was in the wrong, I was violating state law, and I could be removed indeed from office for openly admitting to doing that. So here was the announcement, and I think you really have to ask, what was the point of any of this? I mean, what was the point of the grandstanding if you were going to capitulate the whole time? These people are performative, they're clowns, it is what it is. Nonetheless, take a listen. Here's the Orlando mayor just today. I mean, again, that was pretty fast, about 24 to 48 hours. Take a listen.
Let me just start by saying that you're here this afternoon because I signed the ICE agreement. Yes, I signed the damn thing because we really had to. We were put in a tough spot. I can't let our entire board of county commissioners and myself be removed from office. I say that with all sincerity because of the role, the responsibilities that we have here within this community to take care of our community and look out for our residents. I did not want to be in a position where the governor will have the opportunity to insert his minions in the roles to lead this county. Because of that, with the advice of the county attorney's office, we decided today that we're still several days away from Tuesday. I thought that it was urgent that we needed to take action now to preclude the possibility that the elected body here within Orange County could be removed from office. I hope you understand that. That was a calculated risk that we had. Obviously, if people who have no elected responsibility to our county would be inserted or put in place, that would be catastrophic to the continuity of government here within Orange County.
But I thought you weren't going to be bullied into it. What happened? He said he wasn't going to be bullied into signing the ICE agreement, And then about a day and a half later, he's signing the ICE agreement. What happened there? You know? And even just 2 days ago, he was acknowledging that, yes, they're threatening to remove me from office, but I'm not scared. I'm going to do everything it takes to stand up and fight for this. Well, that didn't last long. Now he's saying, okay, they're going to remove me from office potentially. Okay, you can have your agreement here, Governor DeSantis. Again, what is the point of the grandstanding? Why even do that if you're going to immediately cave? But nonetheless, it is pretty funny. It is pretty entertaining to allow and watch for these Democrat mayors to utterly humiliate themselves. I am indeed here for it 100%. Nonetheless, here you have basically the Chronicle, according to what happened in the Orlando Sentinel. So they stated here that you had a fury earlier this week where the AG threatened to remove the mayor and commissioners from office if they did not sign such an agreement. Uthmeier said that they could be kicked out for adopting a sanctuary policy because that is obviously illegal under Florida state law. Demings was claiming they were not doing a sanctuary policy, which they were, and he won't back down to quote-unquote mean-spirited politics from a young man that is over-aggressive. Well, guess what? Hours later, he has indeed backed down to mean-spirited politics from a young man that is over-aggressive. I think that is actually a pretty strong endorsement of so-called mean-spirited politics. Okay, can we have more of that, please? Okay, can we have someone do this to Karen Bass, you know? But nonetheless, okay, a county attorney has warned Demings and other commissioners that a new Florida law that was signed earlier this year, timely notice there, gave them little choice but to sign the agreement with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And he announced today that news at 4 p.m. So, you know, there you essentially have it, right? This person is saying they're in a corner and all that. But again, I asked the question, what was the point? What was the point of acting tough? You know, it's like you made yourself look worse, frankly, I would think. But again, it is what it is. I don't really know what goes into the minds of some of these half-rate, you know, Democrat politicians. Nonetheless, I want to read you this kind of tweet chronicle as well, because this was again on July 30th, just on Wednesday, where he states that, quote, the mayor of Orlando here states that, quote, I find it somewhat ironic that the 37-year-old AG is attacking me. I don't know what his age has to do with it. It's like, oh, Republicans are young. You know, we don't have geriatrics running the state of Florida right now. Okay, I mean, all right, fine. Anyways, the 37, as if that's young, by the way, like 37 is middle-aged, okay? He's old enough to be the president. It's unlike, oh, the 21-year-old attorney general. He's 37. He's okay, whatever, right? Anyways, the 37 AG is attacking me, personally attacking our board. I spent more years on the streets of Florida patrolling as a law enforcement officer than he's been alive. I'm not going to be bullied by the state AG. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tough Guy, for that. But of course, just today, you have the AG of Florida, Uthmeier, here stating that, thank you, Mayor Demings, for changing course this morning. He actually quote tweeted this, you know, changing course this morning and doing what is right and required by Florida law. We appreciate Orange County's efforts to support ICE with immigration enforcement. And here you have that statement, right? U.S. Immigration in Orange County hereinafter have this whole thing signed there by Jerry L. Demings, mayor of Orlando, Florida. It's worth noting, by the way, that, you know, as we've actually covered previously, this is far from the first time this happened. We had just about over a week ago where the city of Louisville, Kentucky had dropped its sanctuary city policy, and that came after the mere threat of suing, right, lawsuit by the Department of Justice. And of course, you might remember, actually, those of you who have been watching this channel for some time, that about the same time last month, we actually covered the quite hilarious chronicle of how yet another city in Key West, Florida, did this exact same thing, and it ended in the same way. Essentially, the city commission there voted to void the agreement with ICE, declare themselves a sanctuary city, and then in the span of days later, after Uthmeier and the AG and DeSantis say, yeah, you're not allowed to do that, you're going to be removed from office, immediately they're reversing course, and much like I'm sure is happening right now in Orange County, the people of Key West were not exactly happy. The Democrats, I should say, at least of Key West, were not exactly happy, but still, it's pretty entertaining to see the Tough Guy Act rapidly come apart.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Carey?
No.
Commissioner Castillo?
No.
Commissioner Haskell?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoover?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Mayor Enriquez?
No.
Motion fails. Which you can incorporate all if every...
Do we have
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
I would just like to make the comment that it appears in this room that we are one human family unless we have a difference of opinions. And that doesn't seem one
Okay,
bit
so we
appropriate.
have a motion. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion?
Can I get clarity on the
Mayor?
amendments,
Yes.
please?
Again, just pure entertainment, and particularly in the case of Key West, it's like the Martha's Vineyard phenomenon, I like to call it, back to when, ironically, Florida bussed the migrants to Martha's Vineyard. They live on this kind of secluded, very wealthy island, probably don't even deal with that many illegals in the area to begin with, but they're screaming at the rest of Florida and the rest of the country for not being tolerant and accepting enough to illegals. And then the moment that you actually try to enforce immigration law, they're like, oh, shame on you! They're a part of our community, even though we're not really that diverse of a community. We don't even have that many, but they need to be here, right? So, ultimately, it is what it is. Similarly, I'd lastly here like to point out that, in Orlando, you're dealing here with a city that has a massive problem with Tren de Aragua, right? Talking particularly there about a Venezuelan gang that has become a massive target, obviously, of ICE and the Trump administration. So last thing I'd like to note on this front is just remember that when these Orlando Democrats try to defend the ICE terrorism in our city, this is the type of residency, I guess, that they're encouraging to continue staying in the city of Orlando.
We recently told you about another 9 Investigates exclusive, also on immigration. We were invited along on an ICE raid in our community. Juan Andres Barolo Moreno Romero was arrested in Orlando, and according to ICE, he's a 25-year-old from Venezuela. They say he was living here illegally and a known gang member and part of the Tren de Aragua, or TDA gang, which is known as a violent gang.
Pretty nice neighborhood for an illegal alien criminal to be living in, but, I guess when you're involved in gangs, that's what happens, right? But anyways, with all of that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. What do you think of the 24 to 48 hour chronicle of the Sanctuary City reversing course here? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.